Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Andreas Diaz. Me and Will and I are back again for another spectacular Marvel Plus talk. Of course, today we have a lot to do here. So, first up, we'll uh, bring up some major news that has happened with Marvel Studios and all that, and then, of course, our main topic today is Iron Man 3. So, yeah. So, anyway, Will, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. I'm excited to talk news. So, it's not going to be a regular thing to bring up news, but like as of late, I think DC and Marvel has been, how do you say it, having their own studio problems. So, yesterday, me and Chris discussed briefly on the Shazam to a fortune box office results and the drama that's been going on around that. So we discussed that in length, and then I mean, it's been like over a month. We have three big news. I mean, first off, MN3. Despite what we thought about the movie, it's not doing well in the box office.
hmm
Unfortunately, despite the high opening weekend results, it's not generating enough profit. And so far, I think this is going to be the lowest grossing Ant-Man film behind the first Ant-Man movie. And of course, the highest of the Ant-Man films is the sequel, Ant-Man and the
hmm
Wasp. So, Will, I kind of get kind of curious for you. What do you think about the drama around Ant-Man 3? Minus with the Jonathan Majors, which that's been kind of a nightmare right now. But
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I mean, it didn't perform as well. I think people are just kind of getting tired of Marvel and just like the superhero genre, which is a thing that people have been saying for like a decade. But I think we're actually getting there post Endgame.
already,
Um, yeah. I mean, I personally I'm a huge fan of Marvel, but if they don't like switch up their formula and like make content that's more unique, then
hmm
yeah, I am getting more bored with these films. Although, again, Ant-Man 3, pretty formulaic, and I still enjoyed it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but there's been other ones that have come out more recently that, again, were formulaic, but not like I didn't
hmm
have like a net positive experience with them. I
yeah,
don't know. Like I am excited by certain Marvel projects that seem to be a little more experimental. Like
yeah, yeah,
um, WandaVision was great
yep.
until it like fell back into the formula and kind of
hmm
became less unique. But um, I don't know. I didn't like Doctor Strange too, but I do appreciate that they let Sam Raimi do his thing.
Yeah.
You know. Um, So I think if we can get more projects like those, and they're not all gonna hit. Like again, I didn't love Doctor Strange too, but if there are more projects like that where like you can
hmm
give a director or a writer like their own voice and kind of make it their own thing, um, I think we'll see a bigger variety of stories, and then some of those are gonna like really knock it out of the park. Like it's gonna be a little messier than the cookie cutter
Yeah.
movies of the first three phases. But
Right.
I think that's the way to like get people excited again is to try stuff out,
hmm
see what works, see if we can like make something that feels new and exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I disagree about the whole superhero with T notion. I mean, people have been throwing that out. Like, particularly, they always compare it to the westerns,
Yeah.
and which I disagree. Like, here's the thing: with the westerns, yes, it was oversaturated, but the thing that killed it is because probably all those were just not good. Um, I don't think we're at that moment of of the
Uh,
super. Hmm?
I don't know.
I mean,
a lot of the recent ones haven't been good, and it's killing the
well,
genre. Like I agree. Like when people started saying that, like
yeah,
back in like phase 2,
yeah.
I think that was inaccurate. But I don't know. The
Well,
quality is dipped, and yet the content is like so widespread.
hmm
So I
well, yeah.
still.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, we still have good quality. I mean, you think about take a look at that the Amazon Prime superhero content there, like Invincible, The Boys, like those two are like everyone's favorite content of superhero thing. While we have these other things, like Superman and Lois is back, and that's doing very well compared to Gotham Knights. You know, I just feel like I feel like these two movies, I don't want to talk too much about Shazam 2, but like that and Ant-Man 3 just didn't deliver on the expectations, or it didn't deliver on what the studio wanted it, to be. Look at last year. Last year, half of the grosses, were all superheroes. Like what, like
Mhm.
one, like yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, like four of those were major comic movies that have made money. I mean, the Batman last year, like everyone loved that movie against the other three major Marvel movies we had.
Mhm.
Despite the Black Adam thing, which was not good, so it's not like a big deal. I just think it's just like the drama, the studio drama, and all the drama that's going on with these two projects have been plaguing the film in general, like, which is not good. Like, you don't want that to, like, I say, like, you look at Black Adam, it's like, or what is it? Oh, that movie, Don't Worry, Darling. Like,
Mhm.
people, like, it did well in the boxes, but the talk is usually the drama behind it, not the movie as a whole, as a product. And I think that's the problem with these two movies going on. So, and yeah, we didn't start a good year of superhero films, but it doesn't mean we're gonna get, like, we still have more movies to come out. Like Guardians Volume 3, that's a sure hit. I mean, we got Spider-Verse coming out in June. I 100 feel that's gonna be great.
Mhm.
Like the Marvels, I mean, recently got pushed back. And I heard so far the test results are getting better, so they're doing it. Um, I feel like DC has the Flash, and I mean, whatever you think about the drama there is like, I mean, Warner Brothers, and like even Tom Cruise of all people saying that is the greatest thing. So yeah, so I'm not gonna agree on the super freaky. Like the same thing with every genre, like sci-fi or
Mhm.
horror.
Mhm.
Like horror, you remember back in the mid 2000s, we were in the remake trend, and was it the torture corner horror trend, and
Mhm.
the beginning of 2013, right? Speaking of Iron Man Training 2013, 2013 was the year of horror. Everything became better with horror afterwards. Like elevated horror, I think started to begin around 2013. I don't know which one came out 2013, but like The Conjuring came in there. Insidious 2, The Purge came out that year, and then the Evil Dead remake, which wasn't that bad compared to other remakes of like classic horror movies of the 80s and all that.
Mhm.
So I don't think it's happening. I just think the drama around what's been going on over Marvel Studios and what Warner Brothers. I mean Warner Brothers and the whole like Black Adam again, Shazam drama is like perking up, and so it's just blocking this this product that you should judge it in its own thing. That's what happened with Fan Stick. Like the drama was more interesting than the movie, and that's so
Mhm.
that's my problem. Like that's what's going on, so yeah, so that's my thing. And speaking of um people, we got Jonathan Majors. He unfortunately got charged. I mean, for arrest. If you have been checking the news, fortunately, it was like a assault on a person, a woman.
Mhm.
So right now we're sort of in the dark. Right now, they're like I think the DA is like pressing charges. So my question is, do you think if that is gonna go through, you think we're gonna get a new actor for Kang? I mean, it seems like it if it goes through. Um, but
Yeah, I don't know. Um,
I mean, I
I just will have to see like what what happens with him.
yeah
Like if like what comes out as they investigate
yeah
the charges.
yeah
But yeah, it's not
not good.
it's not good.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Which is a shame because he was like a new racing star, and
yeah,
yeah.
I
I don't know if you've
he's
seen Creed 3, but
no,
um,
I haven't seen any of the Rocky movies.
oh really?
Yeah,
Oh man, you're lucky. I seen
wait,
half of.
I'm lucky that I haven't seen them. I thought they were supposed to
Well,
be.
well,
Or I'm lucky
first two.
because I get to watch them.
I mean, well, no, well, I mean, like some of them go kind of goofy. Like it's
Yeah,
sort of like I mean, like if you've seen
well,
Rocky 4, there's like a bromance between a human and a robot.
what? Wait, wait.
Yes, in
Can
Rocky
we
4.
can we talk about Rocky 4 now instead of Iron Man 3?
Well,
There's a
I'll,
robot.
yeah, there's a like Rocky. The whole family bought something for their was it Paulie? I say Andrea's brother for
Okay.
his birthday, and they bought a robot for him. And in the whole movie, this is ridiculous. He gets like there's like a startling like a bromance that's happened with him and the robot, and it's just oh my god, it's so 80s. That's where uh, Dolph Lundgren became famous. He's the Russian. That's where he pops up, and he does return in Creed 2, and he's actually great in Creed 2. He's actually a good person. He's a good actor.
Okay.
Very, yeah, very smart person. No. The Rocky series are great. The first one is great. Second one is really good. Rocky 3 is campy with Mr. T. Uh, it's funny because the trainer for all the first three that trains Rocky is actually the Penguin.
Mhm.
From the '60s show. I never noticed that until I started to watch the '60s show. Um, and then I seen the fifth one. It's the worst. Like the fifth is like the Batman Robin of the Rocky series.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just it like it's trying to be serious. Like it's trying to go back to groundedness, but it struggles to do that. So it's not the worst. It's just a low point to the series because it's like they really ran out of ideas. But yeah, then Rocky Balboa is like really great. Like there's a great speech from Stallone about fighting for what like you're after for is a really great speech, and it's really charming. But then this is what I mean. Like I was kind of curious if you've seen Creed here because the Creed movies are amazing.
Yeah,
Like
that's what I've heard.
yeah, I seen the first two. It's a little hard for me with the first. Like, oh my god, the first one is oh my god, it's the best. Of course, that's one of our Marvel, alumni. Ryan Coogler came from the first Rocky movie.
Yeah.
Creed. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Y-
Yeah.
and yeah, he did a great job of revitalizing the franchise to new heights. And yeah, and then Creed 2 was a great sequel. I mean, it stayed consistent. They brought back Dolph Lundgren, his Russian character, and that was really great. That director is going to do the new Transformers movie coming out this June, so I'm really excited for that. And then yeah, and then Michael B. Jordan directed the third one, and I heard it's great and it's doing well in the box office. So yeah,
All
so
right.
yeah, so just watch the YouTube clips of Rocky 4, and you know what I mean about the romance of the robot and the human.
Mhm.
It's just hilarious. Okay, what other thing? To just get this over and before we do Iron Man 3 is Victoria Alonso. Now this one is the big one. So Victoria Alonso was president of Marvel Studios terms of production, pre-production.
Mm-hmm.
She got promoted during the Phase 4, uh, like a couple weeks ago, or like 4 or 3 weeks ago. She got fired. Um, and this has been a huge like nightmare, like behind the scenes thing. So at first, it was totally unexpected. The first week, no like um comment on both sides. Usually, when we have something that's major, they will comment on something. Okay, it's time for them to leave, and they want to do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't that. And then the following week, it became very like, I mean, like Hollywood drama of just pointing fingers, and then this drama that's so petty slash childish. So right now, we don't know why they fire her. Eh, I mean, I know that like because she was control of the visual effects, um, that was hitting like that was maybe the reason she got fired because of that, because of last year
Mm-hmm.
with the breaking news. But then something else happened. Apparently, she produced this international film that got nominated called Argentina um, 99, um, which she wasn't allowed to do that, or she wasn't allowed to promote it during her work with Marvel, and so that was the reason she got fired. Maybe like
Mm-hmm.
it was a breach of contract of that, um, which again, no confirmation what was going on, and so it's been kind of like a very like when you get fired, it's because this one I saw apparently. The reason you get fired is because you were actually a bad person, or you didn't do your job. Like I guess the example is like Harvey Weinstein, like something like that. Um, and here it's not. It doesn't seem like that. So it's been kind of like a surprise kind of firing. But uh, and the reason it's a big deal is that I didn't know like Victoria was there since day one, since the beginning of the
Yeah.
Marvel Studios. So I don't know what's your opinion on this, Will. I just wanted to bring that up because that was the big one that like flew around that like whole March. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Wait,
Well, I haven't really been following it very closely.
yeah, it's a lot to
Yeah.
adjust.
I did see the thing about her producing that other film and how that violated her contract, and then she like attended the Oscars to promote that movie instead of
Yeah,
Black Panther 2, which upset some
some
people
people.
at Marvel. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
I,
But yeah, I know. Didn't she used to be in charge of like casting, like in the early movies? I feel like
um
that's what I always associated her name with.
no, like she was just like a producer. Like when I
Right.
was watching Iron Man 3, like she was like executive producer. So just like a baseline name, but it seemed like she was in control of like what was like in terms of pre-production, like like I say extras or the production deals
Mm-hmm.
of companies of visual effects. And
Okay.
so, and I heard this one story. I was listening to YouTubers that have sources in Hollywood, and people like actually legit sources from the rap or anyone that works in journalism. And apparently, the during the Black Panther around this time, one of them called Victoria Alonso, and apparently, while they didn't know the phone was still on, like she didn't hang up, it heard the awful criticism that the producers say to her, and so she blacklisted them, and so she was looking for other companies to handle the effects of Black Panther. So that's why you kind of see the really awful, inconsistent effects during the third act, and
Hmm.
yeah, so like that's so yeah. Why you notice that? Yeah, um, yeah, because it's so bad because of how big Marvel is. It's like they just take advantage of these companies, which I mean, it's tough. I mean, they need to start doing unions, hopefully, but we'll see. Um, excuse me. but yeah, and then Ant-Man 3, like when I mentioned in the podcast when we did the spoiler cast, like the last minute reshoots. That's the thing. It's
Hmm.
like you're forcing these companies to just do these massive late minutes of just redoing effects. Is like totally unacceptable. And like, I mean, I don't know. It's just I don't know. I'm glad and I'm happy that, or I don't want people to get fired, but like, I don't know. I think this is maybe a good sign that Marvel needs to get changed. And let's face it, compared to our comparator DC, I mean, Marvel is actually doing the right thing. They have scaled down everything. To wrap this up, like, I mean, they pushed a lot of the Disney Plus shows. Like,
Hmm.
I don't think we're gonna get any of them until 2025 or four. This year, I heard it's gonna be just two Disney Plus shows. And thank God, because I think you mentioned how changing out the formula and all that. Like,
Hmm.
we got Secret Invasion finally dated for June, which is great.
Yeah, early 2023 is what they said until
Yeah,
just now.
just now.
So, and
Yeah,
it's June.
dude. Yeah. So okay, that's fine. I did forget about that. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, at least they push it back, and
Yeah, no, at least there's an actual date now.
yeah. But
Um,
I mean, that's good. I mean, they're paying attention to the criticisms. They're. I think Kevin Feige knows that they they over they over quantity over quality. So I
yeah.
feel like they're taking they at least taking the action now.
Hmm.
So I'm not worrying about Phase 5 or 6 at all. I think that Marvel Studios are just doing it. It's just right now. I think their house is going to be a little messy, but I mean, thank God they don't like I say release stuff that is so inappropriate to know, like
Hmm.
DC has done.
Hmm.
So because like we really like we're in the I mean, like we have evidence why she got fired, but like realistically, and for me, this is unofficial. Like we really don't know why she got fired this
Right,
suddenly.
we don't. Yeah, and we never will.
Exactly.
They're never going to come out and say like why they let someone go. But
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing I like. I know it's frustrating, but like at least I appreciate that with Marvel Studios because I don't like that because then that covers your story. Like it covers too much of your product. Like it happened with Ant-Man. Like if we knew what happened to it, I mean, we know what happened to Edgar Wright, but like realistically, we don't know why he left and what was the reasons. But I mean, but I don't know.
mhm.
So yeah, so crazy times for us in superhero stuff, but I think we're gonna get better. I mean, come on, like we're excited to see the Penguin. I mean, that's looking great. I mean, the Joker too. Like I don't know, you've been seeing the behind the scenes of Lady Gaga. Like that looks good. Um, so yeah, like there's still like exciting things for superhero stuff. It's just right now we're in the like when you have other franchise and movies are doing well, like John Wick Chapter 4 or Scream 6 and then Creed 3,
Mhm.
it's kind of it's hard to annoy that like these new superhero movies of 2023 did not deliver. And yeah, but unfortunately for me, Sam 2, I just briefly to talk about Sam 2, like as I mentioned with Chris yesterday, Warner Brothers did not care about it. They let it die. Like they didn't market the film right. Like the marketing was awful
Mhm.
in Shazam 2 compared to like Ant-Man 3. Like Ant-Man 3's marketing was so much better. Like everyone knew Ant-Man 3 was the big event you had to see, despite
Right.
what you think about the movie.
Right.
You know? You know?
Mhm.
And yeah, so you know, it's, it's just really sad. So, because I love the first Shazam and just can't believe it. So anyway, let's get into Iron Man 3. I think it'd be a good time to start doing that. Okay,
Yeah.
so and speaking of beginning of a phase that not good or whatever your opinion is. So 2013. So this is the seventh film of Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is
Mhm.
the start of Phase 2. Um, Iron Man 3. So yeah. So, Will, just want to hear your overall thoughts on the movie. How high is in your ranking of MCU films, and is it your favorite film of the Iron Man trilogy? Go ahead.
All right. I guess I'll answer those
Mm,
one at a time. Uh,
yeah, one at a
I
time.
like the movie. I'm a fan of Shane Black, so
Hmm.
I definitely enjoy the movie and Shane Black's like tone that he like. I love his writing style. So the dialogue in this movie is very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Um, and then I don't know. I liked where it took Tony's character, um, and then just from like a blockbuster perspective, I thought the addition of the Iron Legion was a lot of fun. A lot of cool like
Oh,
Iron Man suit designs. But I think uh, the villains are where this movie like isn't as strong.
mm,
Um, but
yeah. We'll get to
I don't
that.
know. But I really like
Um.
Tony's like arc and um,
Mhm.
yeah, and it's a very enjoyable movie. Uh,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's my favorite of the Iron Man movies
Okay.
because the first Iron Man definitely
Oh
takes
yeah.
that, but I enjoy it more than Iron Man 2.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Well, Iron Man 2. Yeah. It's like yeah. It's the same thing with Iron Man 2. It's like there's things I like about both films, and then there's like a lot of like cons with both
yeah.
films. So yeah. Oh my God. Like speaking of relationship of films, like just like Rocky Four for me, I this movie was like a roller coaster of emotions for me over the years. It's like I didn't care for the film, and then I started to like it, and then I think it was like around 2018. I was like, no, it's actually not that bad. It's actually great,
Hmm.
and I think it's actually one of the best MCU films of the films. You know, talking about the news and the former Atlantic, like this is like the most on MCU film we have so far.
Yeah,
Like
this.
that's what do you
Sorry,
think? No, no, go
sorry. No,
ahead.
I was just gonna say. I was just gonna agree with you. Yeah, like speaking of what I mentioned earlier about like letting writer directors like do their thing. This was a very early example of that.
Yeah.
Because this is very much a Shane Black movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. Was this your first Shane Black, or did you seen like the first two Lethal Weapon movies, or some of his other films like Kiss Kiss Bam Bam before Iron Man 3?
I think this is my first one, and then I went back and I watched Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Nice Guys.
Oh, oh God, the nice guys. Ugh, that's really good. Oh
Yeah.
God. Ugh. Yeah, I this was like I think my first introduction of Shane Black. Despite if you've seen the Lethal Weapon series, I mean I know he didn't write 3 or 4, but like I mean, or if you've seen Last Action Hero with Arnold, like he wrote that and like you could see Shane Black's like fingerprints all over that.
Mm, okay.
Uh, yeah, it's a good movie. Last Action Hero is a great movie. It's like Iron Man 3, but like with Star Wars completely, and it's like meta because of the act. It's like Scream. It's actually the Scream of action films of meta commentary. So I highly recommend seeing that, and it's actually Arnold's best performance out there. Like it's like top five. But yeah, like yeah, this was like the most director-driven movie. Like it sets up like a couple of like the other directors we see in MCU, like with Gunn, with
Hmm.
Guardians, with the Russo brothers for Captain America, and Ryan Coogler for Black Panther. Like without Ryan, I don't think the second film could have been successful without Ryan.
Hmm.
You know, so I think Shane Black and the Iron Man 3 really sets up like to allow your director because you know, this year, just like the 2011 film or the 2008, we had two films released in 2013, and obviously we had Thor, the Dark World in 2013. Um, uh, and you look at that, it's like it's such a community, like community
Hmm.
driven kind of film. Like you don't see any like the director's voice all over that film. Where here you do, the Christmas theme is so Shane Black. His witty dialogue, like I don't know what's your favorite line. Like my favorite line is when he said one of the extremist female soldier was in Tennessee, and she say like what one liners and what tricks, and then Tony replies like, "Lady, that's gonna be in my was the autobiography."
Autobiography.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's my favorite line
it's a good
from
one.
that. Yeah. Oh my god. So and oh my god, and then Tony calling I didn't notice this, but it was funny because he calls Trevor Meryl Streep. Oh my god, I cannot say her name now.
Meryl Streep. Yeah.
Yeah. And then oh my god, what else that was funny? Oh my god, Rhodey saying the War Machine count, like War Machine 68, and then
Hmm.
the password War Machine rocks capital X something like that. That was so funny. Oh my god. I don't know what's what are your other favorite lines from Shane Black from this movie. Um,
Uh,
uh,
there's the time that Harley was talking about how his dad left. Um,
oh yeah,
and
I
he's like,
know
"Yeah, well, that happens."
it happens. Yeah. Oh my
It's like
god.
really cold about it.
Yeah. It's
That's good.
yeah. Yeah, like oh my god, it's like I don't want to compare it to Iron Man 2, but like compared to Iron Man 2, like I like oh my god, the jokes just landed in this movie so
Hmm.
much.
Yeah.
I just love it. Oh my god, it was so great. Yeah, oh my god, it's just oh my god, there's so many great lines. Like and then there's lines. Like speaking of the like foreshadowing things, like if you read the lines carefully, like I didn't notice certain things when Tony was investigating like the hologram
Hmm.
of the Chinese theater, like when he was looking at it, it's like okay, everything is like theater, and like if you don't like everything was related to like figure, and it's like that was like a first hint of like the Mandarin was going to be actor. If you
Mm.
you know, like I think like those kind of lines, it like sets up the twist so well, and I never seen like you get compared to Scream, like Scream does like heavily just tells you that okay, these killers are the killers, but you don't know because they just throw you like in a loop that like just distracting you who's the killers. But here, Iron Trade just like cleverly eyes who was the Mandarin until the reveal, but that they give you hints. Well, what's gonna like be the reveal, before that
Hmm.
happens. So, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then this just in general action scenes as well. Like I think that Iron Man 2 was $200 million, but I felt like this movie was so bigger than the first two. Like I don't know what's your favorite action scene, but like the airplane scene is like my favorite.
It's
Like
a good one.
it's oh my god, like just heart pounding. Like I don't know, you've seen the behind the scenes of that. Like they actually shot it for real before they like digitalized Iron Man into that scene, like so seamlessly, and like I think that scene is one of my favorite superhero rescues we see in films.
Hmm.
Um, oh yeah, and then you brought up the Iron Legion, which I like how you just brought that first in your thoughts,
Yeah.
because oh my god, it's like a dream, like a wet dream come true for an Iron Man fan like me to see all those armors, and like it's one of the most creative like endings ever for like a
Hmm.
superhero thing. And oh my god, like this, like comparing to Phase Four, like I don't know if this movie influenced them to have this like big, like like I don't know, like um, I mean, it's big stake kind of ending that the Phase Four films have, but I don't know if this influenced that, but like this started that maybe that trend in the MCU, right? Or more maybe Winter Soldier, maybe. Um, but the flying helicarrier thing crashing.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I just the oil rig act like finale was really creative, and then the house attack, which I mean, we saw Dying Legion in the trailers, but like the house attack was a big one. I like just seeing it just completely get demolished from the terrorists, extremists is just was I wasn't expecting that. So
Yeah.
um, yeah. But yeah, so speaking of that, I mean, like it'll be kind of rude to not to mention the Avengers. So, like, I don't know if we mentioned it last year or 2 years ago with Thor, but it was really cool how the Avengers, like, like seeded in this movie and like how it informed this movie a lot.
Hmm.
Like, it if you don't really need to see the first two movies, just watch the first Avengers movie to see this movie, because just how much the attack of New York affected Tony, like psychologically and then physically, trauma, and it was so inspiring choice to like give Tony anxiety attacks and PST, and I think they did a really good job of like exploring that in the film. And
Hmm.
so I don't know if you you think they um took the PST in its conclusion in this movie, or do you have some problems how they handled it? What do you think, Will? Um,
I think my only problem with how they handled it is that it seems to have magically disappeared by the time we get to Age of Ultron.
mm,
Um,
yeah,
but I thought the portrayal in this movie was like very well done.
yeah,
And I thought it was really nice to show that even though the events of the first Avengers film, uh, like even though it ended well for the Avengers, like there's still consequences to everything that happened, and it's not just like
hmm,
something you can walk away from.
no,
I thought that was a really nice touch of realism. Um,
yeah,
and again, like the only problem with it is that then it disappears, and they never do anything like that again.
yeah,
Um,
hmm, yeah,
but
um, yeah. I think I I couldn't have that problem, but then when we got like I think it gets better when we get to phase three, because I seen one of the YouTubers mention before. I think the writers, like all the different writers that take over Iron Man after this movie, has
mhm,
done a job of explaining that he's not like he in this movie particularly, he was very dependent on the Iron Man suit, and
mhm,
like the words of Cocoon has bring up a couple of times, like especially the scene in the oil rig when Helion attacks him, and it like converts him into a turtle, and like you're in a cocoon suit, or
mhm,
all that. And and Tony applies towards the end, when he before he says "I am Iron Man," his famous line, he explains how the building these suits wasn't a hobby or a skill or whatnot. It was like a cocoon for him.
right,
And in this movie, he like especially when him destroying the suits, he is no longer dependent on the suits as a thing. Like if you get afterwards, like Age of Ultron, he's using the suits more productively, like particularly the Iron Legion. Like those suits inspire him to be more careful with the collateral damage and stuff that the Avengers will do. And
yeah,
then in Captain Civil War, he doesn't have like a suit on him. Like he has that watch that turns into like the Iron Glove,
mhm,
so he becomes less dependent on the suits, and he still has the PSD still, but it's more like he's still in his mind. He just doesn't like he's a little more comfortable with now with Pepper, because
Hmm.
he has that line in Infinity War when he was talking to Strange that he had Thanos in his head for 6 years.
Hmm.
So still, and again, Scarlet Witch and Age of Ultron triggered it again.
Hmm.
So again, he still has it. It's just this movie, like he was really deep down, like shaken because of what happened to him, and like he was just radically not thinking clearly. But after this movie, he starts to think more clearly. But
Yeah.
it depends on what's going on around Tony. Like in Civil War, he isn't thinking clearly because of what happened to Pepper. Like him and Pepper break up in Civil War.
Hmm.
So, but then after Civil War, we get to Homecoming, he gets back to Pepper. So, you know, that's the thing. So I know, yeah, that was always a glaring thing when we get into Age of Ultron. But I mean, when we get past Age of Ultron, it gets better. It just I feel like it's especially this time because Robert wasn't like he was only contracted to do 5 films when the Phase One was starting, and this was his last in his contract.
Right.
So around 2014, well, while Age of Ultron was in development, they sorted out a deal for him to continue on uh, until he died in the Avengers Endgame. So I hope that answers that, like fix that little glaring thing with that. Because I'm shocked. I mean, I think it's also the kid Harley.
Uh-huh.
Also, I think Harley really helps him to realize who he is. Really,
Yeah.
like I really like Harley as a character, and I don't think his turn of getting over his anxiety couldn't work if he had someone that helped him realize that there's more to him than the suits. And I
Hmm.
think Harley really serves that role really well. Um, I mean, I wish he continued on in the faces, but I think with this role, he really impact Tony in a way that we're going to see, but in such a different way when we get to Phase 3. So, but the appearance on Harley. Um,
Yeah. No, I agree that he really like facilitates Tony's character arc in this movie.
mhm.
Um, it was nice to see him show up at Tony's funeral in Endgame.
Yeah, he got big.
Well, yeah, he's not 13 anymore or
13
whatever.
more. Yeah, I mean, it's funny to see him that tall. Like I saw him in Jurassic World, and like he was still like like around where he was at in Iron Man 3. But
Hmm.
it was so weird to see him like adult in the Endgame.
Hmm.
Because it's weird because like we jump a few years in Endgame as well. So I don't know. It's funny. But yeah, I was very happy they did that. I don't know, like, did you caught that in the first viewing? That was Harley. Um,
Uh,
I
I think I did.
Cause for me, I got to know that afterwards, and I was
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, that was who he was. That made a lot of sense. So, um,
Yeah, I can't remember if I did or if it was like something I saw online, like
yeah,
immediately after.
yeah,
Um,
um,
I can't remember now.
yeah. Oh my god, it's been what 4 years now or five, whatever.
Almost 4. Yeah,
Yeah, excuse me, 4 years.
4 in
4.
April. It's
Yeah,
already April. Oh man.
yeah, yeah. 30 April. Yeah,
Oh.
it's crazy. Yeah, I know. Oh my god. Yeah, it was like it's just crazy. Oh my god, time flies.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just really crazy. Yeah, I think it was like afterwards online. I discovered that Harley was there. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Because and it was really great that he was there in the funeral. Because like he will like just like Peter. He was a father figure to Harley as well. So yeah, just in my head, I was like, he probably took care of Harley after
Mhm.
this events. So which is good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So okay, what? Let me ask you what other things do you like about this film? What like what it did better over Iron Man 2 for you? in terms of fixing things. Besides, well, I guess one thing you brought up the villains.
Hmm.
Um, like let's not get into the major twists because that will be a major one. Um,
Yeah.
I like the villains here. Um, I think it's just how very 80s level of campy they are, which
Hmm.
I love. And it's just like you have a henchman that's like very over the top. If you've seen like Commando or Total Recall with
Yeah.
Michael Ironside, like he's that level of like henchman,
Hmm.
and then
Yeah.
uh yeah. And then Killian, he's like a yuppie. Like he's just like um he's the mid 2010s yuppie villain, and he's just like Tony, just kind of like similar to Justin Hammer. Like he's another businessman who's trying to outsmart Tony. But I like it here compared to Iron Man 2. It was not again a suit related thing. Like I like how it was very much like a science, like a henchman kind of way than just building like another better and bigger suit. Like that was the thing I appreciate about the villains here. That it
Hmm.
was going in a more scientific way of outsmarting Tony, which I like, and it really proves that well, especially how related to the Mandarin, like how sort of like how Iron Man, like Tony created Iron Man as like his image, but he is Iron Man because he built the suit, by
Hmm.
hand. Where Killian, like he created the Mandarin, but he's not really the Mandarin because he's like hiding behind the scenes. Where Tony's really up front as Iron Man, because
Hmm.
he's in the suit, and I actually like the way because because I mentioned the ending when he say I am Iron Man, like Killian also says I am the Mandarin,
Right.
but the line when he says it, it's not really true because it is not true because he's not really the Mandarin. He's like just he just created it. He's not the
Hmm.
Mandarin. And where Iron Man, when Tony says I am Iron Man, like it is true. He is Iron Man. But without the suit, he's like the mechanic. And I think they really explored that with the villains more. And I think the villains were much better this time around in this movie compared to Iron Man 2 because because with Iron Man 2 um and this was an issue with Iron Man 2. It was the stakes. Like I appreciate the stakes were high in this movie, and like when they took it serious, they took it serious. You
Hmm.
know, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree with that, but like I feel like this movie they did a good job making the stakes personal for Tony.
Yeah, I think so.
hmm but yeah, you mentioned how you did like the villains. Like, can you elaborate more?
Yeah.
Like,
I guess it was more that I didn't like Killian.
oh,
And it's not that he was like bad. It's more like um his character wasn't as like interesting as the rest of the movie.
oh,
Like
okay,
I think he's a better villain than
Whiplash.
Whiplash, yeah, thank you.
Uh,
Um but it's just like the rest of the movie is so much better uh
mhm,
than like his arc and his like I don't know.
mhm.
Like I like Guy Pearce, but I feel like he went very campy, uh, especially with early Killian,
Yeah.
which like does it didn't for me at least it doesn't mesh with the rest of the tone.
hmm
It's like it's adjacent to the tone, but it's
Okay.
not. I
Um.
don't know. It just feels like a little much.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I wanted something a little more grounded in his
Right.
performance. I really liked Rebecca Hall as Maya.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. She's a
Uh,
great actress.
yeah.
Uh.
I don't know. It could have done with more of her in the movie, or if she had like replaced
Killian.
Killian and just
Yeah.
like made all of that just her character, I
Hmm.
think that would have been really good.
Yeah. Oh boy, I love your explaining. That actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah, no. I understand where you're coming from, Will.
Hmm.
I had that same feeling, but I will um I will evaluate more. Like, I think he's the best villain. It's just you have to pay attention to what he's saying and what his whole goal is as a villain.
Hmm.
Because I at first I was like, okay, what is his main end game? Because I thought he didn't like Tony. He took a like he wanted revenge at Tony, but in realization of repeating viewings, I think Killian actually, like, he respects Tony and inspired him to go to this darker route and take it a very ambitious way. You know, what do you
Hmm.
call it? Like anonymity, right? And so like he's doing what Tony could have done if he didn't go through the cave.
Hmm.
So like, imagine this. This is what Tony could have done if he didn't go through the cave in the first Iron Man movie. And that's the thing with Killian. And that's why I am the Mandarin. Like, him being the Mandarin is almost like the Iron Man thing in a
Hmm.
very, like, what we call it, like, not not physiological, like a very, like, in this like heightened way. This is him, like, all
Yeah.
the power, and like tricking people of this idea
Hmm.
that he created. Like, where Tony created this idea of a suit. He created the suit from caves, and that's how he got out the cave. And where here, Keelan created this idea, and people are afraid of it, but they don't
Hmm.
know who created it and all that. And
Yeah.
like, you know,
They're they're good foils of each other.
exactly. And so you had to really pay attention to that. And also, like, how he like, I know it's convenient that he knows Tony, but also he knows Pepper.
Hmm.
I wanted to address that, but I kind of like that because he brings something, like, because how vulnerable Tony is. Like, Keelan gets to Tony compared to
Hmm.
what Whiplash and what Stain does the first two films.
Hmm.
So I think that's the one thing that I think Keelan is. And speaking of Maya, originally when Maya, this is something I think a lot of folks don't know or knew, that you know Maya was supposed to be the Mandarin.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and of course, unfortunately, and this is another news that happened, that was it Eric Palmer got fired from the chairman.
Hmm. Yep.
So he was the reason that didn't go through. So
Right, because he didn't like women, to
yeah,
be blunt.
yeah,
But yeah, he didn't think that women could like sell toys.
yeah, exactly. That was the
Yeah.
reason.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why. And it was funny. I rewatched Iron Man 3 today, and it was funny to hear the line how uh, Tony say, "Are you the Mandarin?" And it's kind of like a very, like, subtle detail if you didn't know that he was supposed to be the Mandarin in the
Hmm.
script. So, yeah, I think Maya could have been great. I mean, because Maya is very important in the extremist storyline. If you read the book, because she is the main villain there.
Hmm.
Um, she let the Mala, the terrorist, to take the extremists because of profit reasons. Um, but yeah, I really like Rebecca Hall. I think she had great chemistry with Tony, with Robert, and with Graham Patrol. But I wish we had more of her in the film, and that's the thing. And her turn on Killian was, I think, the weakest part. And I I don't know. It's kind of confusing for me. Um, with her turn, I don't think I believe her turn to good towards the end really makes sense. So, but that's the thing. But yeah. Uh, okay. So I don't know. I don't know. You agreed that her death was kind of weak. when we get to that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, speaking of Gwyneth Paltrow, let's kind of get into the supporting characters. I mean, of course, well, speaking of Shane Black, of course, Jon Favreau wasn't supposed to direct this movie. He turned down directing the third film. I was very happy he still was happy.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like the role he had here. I love the running gag of the badges, like your ID badge gag, and then was it the 300% complaint that
Mm-hmm.
Pepper throw? It was so funny. I don't know what you think about Happy's humor here, but it was so hilarious, and I love that he logged out to Nabby PBS. So yeah, I think making Happy the casual was really good decision to like fuel Tony to like go after the Mandarin. I think that was a good idea. Despite not having travel in the screen, I think they did a good job of using Happy as the what's the word, causes, or
Mm-hmm.
was it of Tony to go to his journey now to stop this threat.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think about Jon Favreau's Happy in this movie?
Yeah, no, I was also glad to see him back, even though he wasn't the director. And I liked that you saw more of his relationship with Tony.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I love his mullet hair in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and him jumping on him when the plant exploded.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was very funny. But yeah, and I mean it's crazy that after Iron 3 he comes back to do another trilogy with Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, he's in all three of those.
Yep. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm glad that he's still involved.
Yeah, I do. So yeah, the beginning of Civil War and Homecoming, we started to get like a lot of the other Iron Man characters, back in the MCU before Tony died. So
Yeah.
which is good. Yeah, I speaking of the plan, like that was another cool thing they did. Like, this movie did a really good job of like foreshadowing themes in visual way. Like, with this repeat viewing, I didn't catch the plant, and you see the plant's shadow in the wall, and
Mm-hmm.
so when you see that, when we see of course the victims being affected in the explosion of the extremist people, it's the same effect, and that's actually a really cool way to show this is how it was going to be if you get caught in the explosion. So that was neat. Or the president, the vice president,
Mm-hmm.
like that is such a clever and like great visual storytelling of telling you that the vice president was under Killian's wallet, and like he was working with the bad guys, and like and seeing the kid, like his daughter with the one leg, like such a perfect visual storytelling. And speaking, this is a good trivia I can throw out. Do you recognize one of the actress um in that scene with the daughter? I mean, the vice president's daughter. I'm sorry. Um,
Who was it?
okay, I didn't know this until I was like, oh my god, that was the first appearance and film debut of Jenna Ortega.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was her. Before she became famous for Disney Channel and Wednesday and / Screen franchise. So
Mhm.
yeah, which is great. Yeah, that was a great visual, and even dialogue when we get to when Killian was talking to the president about the oil accident thing with Roxanne, like, and then he throw like quick before we cut that scene, he mentioned how like I think he brings up like subtly how the president under you is going to take over your position, and like that tells you that the vice president, like it just gives you another confirmation the vice president is under with Killian and his plan.
Mhm.
But great subtle detail. of that. But yeah, anyway, great film. Anyway, so and then we get into Rhodey. This is where I actually started to like Don Cheadle as Rhodey.
Yeah,
He's so much funnier in this movie. Like, and same thing with Age of Ultron. Like, they did a good job with this character, and I just love everything about John Cheadle here.
hmm yeah. No, he's great. And again, like that's another Shane Black staple. You got the buddy cop dynamic between Tony and Rhodey.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
So
I love when they were arguing when they were in the oil rig
hmm
scene, and Tony, like, of course, he was trying to hit the light bulb, but he couldn't, and then he was arguing with Rhodey about it, and it's like, and he did it just 1 minute to shoot that light bulb. It was so funny.
hmm
That was a great payoff of that. The other one was, of course, we mentioned the account. That was funny. I like the Iron Patriot gag. Like, oh,
hmm
it tests well with focus group. So I thought that was funny. What else? I like how he wanted his suit back. That was always the funniest thing for me. Is like he wants to wear his suit again, the Iron Patriot suit.
hmm
And that's another one. I like how the Iron Patriot suit looks like in this film. Which is crazy. It was weird to see like the second version in Endgame.
hmm
Which is weird. It was too bulky for some reason in Endgame. I don't know why. But yeah, I thought that Shane Black really did a good job of bringing more personality for Rhodey,
hmm
because he was just so, like, he was very typical friend slash like um military person in the first two, and here I feel like Shane Black did a good job of bringing more personality for John Gio to get his teeth sink into for Rhodey. And I was happy they carried this over in Age of Ultron, with the gag of his story. Like, the story works for everyone. Uh, the boom thing. When he was telling Thor, and that didn't work for him. um, yeah, but and that was kind of sad they didn't carry over in Civil War and onwards. But I get that was a serious movie, but I don't know. They kind of lost the personality they set up in Iron Man 3. But
hmm
yeah. So, anything I'm missing with Rhodey? I think they did a good job with Rhodey here.
Yeah, I don't think you're missing anything there.
Okay, all right. So, and then we'll get into Pepper. Um, I think Pepper here was much better handled in Iron Man 2. I think rewatching this, it was like kind of cool that we like really push for Pepper and Tony's relationship to the next level,
hmm
and making it complicated with the events of the Avengers. And I like how she was connected to the villain, which is
hmm
cool. And so, like, she had a lot to do in this movie, and so I really like that.
Yeah.
I don't mind her killing Killian, instead of Tony doing it. Like, I actually
Yeah.
like that. So, yeah, I like everything of what they did with Pepper here, and I think she's important too, because that's the reason that Tony also like lets go of this dependent on the suits and the PSD, like the anxiety, because he really wants to do better with Pepper, and I think that conveys well for Stan.
hmm
So, any thoughts with Pepper? Like, what other things that you like they did with her in this movie? Um,
Andres.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm waiting
Is
for
it?
your answer.
I think my audio cut out.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Sorry.
sorry. Um, you asking what
Your
I thought
opinion.
of Pepper?
Yeah, in this movie, do you
Okay.
like the direction and all that?
Yeah, I liked that she had a little more to do in this movie.
Okay.
Um, like again, yeah, reiterating what you said, the fact that she had a relationship with the villain
Hmm.
really like complicated that and made it a little more interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, I also don't mind that she was the one that killed Killian instead of Tommy.
Yeah. I mean, she has a great like line after that, like a great stinner. Like that was very violent.
Right.
Like that's the perfect way to end that. After killing your villains. But yeah, so yeah, I think Pepper was pretty great here, and it was kind of sad not to see her in Age of Ultron and then Civil War. They confirmed that they broke up, but I was happy at the end that she came back after Homecoming, and she appeared more until Endgame, and that makes sense. So which is supporting. So yeah, so I guess now we can get into the Mandarin twist. Because okay, so let's get into this because I know this one is the biggest conversation about Iron Man 3. Like, I mean, Iron Man 3, like when this movie was like, I mean, first off, I love the marketing in Iron Man 3. Like they made it into like Dark Knight Rises, like of like, oh my god, the Mandarin was the Bane for Batman. The Bane for Iron Man. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying. Like
yeah, that first trailer was really, really good. Made him very menacing.
Yeah, it was like, oh my god. And then the second trailer was great too. The towards the end, that second trailer, they revealed the Iron Legion. Yeah, the marketing was like just fast, just Iron Man 3, the biggest of that. And I cannot believe they hide this twist from everyone. Like I cannot believe like compare this to the 2013 movie this year, Star Trek Into Darkness. Like everyone knew Benedict Cumberbatch was on, where it was such a obvious twist, and like you're not fooling anyone. I mean, Iron Man 3 totally fooled me and everyone. Like the moment we get to Trevor, I was like, "What is going on here?" I just can't believe it. So what where you at with this Mandarin? Do you like it? And of course, to include that, we did have Trevor come back in Shang-Chi. So did this twist kind of meddle for you now with Trevor coming back and then like hanging out certain things with this movie? Like it's better now for you, or do you still have this problem since it released 10 years ago?
I mean, I was fine with it in 2013.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah,
you told me in the time.
So yeah, I know you weren't because you're a fan of the Mandarin character.
Yes.
But I didn't really have any particular attachments to it, and I really liked the kind of the commentary on like America and the war on terror of having like
the face.
The face be kind of like it plays with our conceptions, especially at the time, of like what a terrorist looks like.
Yeah.
And then have like the real reason behind everything being like an American arms manufacturer.
Yes.
It was good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really liked that. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I was like a little disappointed that we didn't get the Mandarin from the trailer because it was so like menacing and cool. But I do like what they ended up doing with it. Yeah. Anyway, like I like it. Yeah. It's very different from what I was expecting going into the movie, but I did like what they did.
Yeah, that's the thing. They were so good at it. That's the thing. This creating like like they did what Killian did in the movie. Like you think about it, like Killian was the filmmaker. He did
Hmm.
what like he was making the Americans like totally not expect what the mansion really is
Hmm.
in the film, and then exactly what the filmmakers did with Iron Man 3 is like you didn't expect what the villain is when you get to see it. It's like so like double entendre and like meta in such a like clever way,
Hmm.
which is so cool. And yeah, I love the twist. Like, it's one of the most clever villain plots. Like, that's why I actually like the villains here, because the plot is not like the plot is not like world domination or like destroying Earth or like
Hmm.
like it's actually one of those clever plots that you really have to think what Killing is saying. Is like he's just trying to own war on terror
Hmm.
by creating this face that Americans think what a terrorist is, and that's what he's doing, and that's so clever.
Yeah.
And it's and he said that to Savin, his henchman, when they were getting Rhodey out of the Iron Man Patriot, and so it's like so clever, and um, yeah, it's just I'm happy, yeah, because now like it's like one of my issues with the MCU with the villains, like in Phase One and Phase Two, is like you don't even explain their villain plots. It's like like compare this to Malekith when we get
Hmm.
when you see Thor in the Dark World in 2013, like you really don't know what his motivation is. It's like I want to bring darkness into the world. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. There's
Really?
no further explanation for like why he wants that, other
Yeah,
than he's a dark elf, so he wants it to be dark.
yeah,
Um.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then and and funny enough, like this sets up a little bit of what Winter Soldier does. I mean, differently. Like, of course, they talk about security and surveillance and all that, but they also like show how terrorist group like are behind the government as well. Like they do intricate government high ups. If you've seen
Hmm.
TV shows like NCIS or FBI and all that, it's just so yeah. Speaking of Trevor, I was disappointed not to see the Mandarin from the trailers. Um, I I mean, like, it's so tough because I guess now I just realize, unfortunately, the character is so stereotypical. So what they did here was more reasonable and well, reasonable. I mean, it's still stereotypical. You think about it, but it's far better. Well, excuse me, what we got instead of just going through the actual Mandarin,
Hmm.
version. And also they at least pay off Trevor and Shang-Chi. Like I like how Wan Wu like talked about how like the Americans took his name
Hmm.
and name it about like an orange or something like that,
Hmm.
one of those fruits. So at least we addressed that. My thing was I think I in repeat viewing I think I was disappointed that we never got the payoff of like that the terrorist group took Tony from the first film. You know,
Hmm.
I really wanted that to pay off the first film. That the Ten Rings took Tony in the first Iron Man film, and we still haven't paid that off. Or I don't know how you could pay that off, but like I well, it paid off from Shang-Chi that like Healing was the only one that sort of took the name. Like it seemed like some terrorist groups took the name the Ten Rings and used it for their own desire.
Hmm.
Because like we got the Ten Rings logo here, but we never addressed that. Is this the same group from the first movie? So it did seem like that. Yeah, there was no connection to that either in the first film. So, but yeah, but Yeah, I think what they did here was really great. I mean, Trevor has funny lines. Like I like the reply, like what Tony say, like he created you, and yeah, he created me.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean Ben Kingsley, great actor. He's such a great choice for a villain, and
Hmm.
and but then at the same time, it's like he's so funny. He's like, oh my god, when he like knows like when he starts sleeping, it's so funny, and then him going to the voice uh of the Mandarin is funny.
Hmm.
Oh my god, it's just hilarious. And I was very happy he came back for Shang-Chi. I thought he was a great comedic aspect of the film, and him and Morris is my favorite. Like I love that scene
Hmm.
when he pretends to be dead and Morris copy him. Oh my god, so I'm very happy that character survived, and of course speaking of connections, like Hell the King, the short, they did retcon this movie right away to confirm that there was a actual Mandarin.
Hmm.
So, speaking of reactions, I mean, the MCU, I will give this, and this is something that DC has failed, where Marvel Studios have been successful with the MCU, is paying off this long, like, unpaid thing, that they set up in the film, that they never right away do it, but they do it soon than later. You
Hmm.
know, like the fact that they addressed that. Okay, we know you didn't like what we did with Iron Man 3, but we're gonna give you the actual mention, but not like now. It took what 8 or 7 years to get to that.
Hmm.
Or how long? To Shang-Chi. I mean, Red Skull is a good sample of that. Like after first adventure, is like, where is he? And then Infinity War kind of answer that. Like and even payoffs and things that you didn't expect, like in Winter Soldier, like you didn't expect Solo be the one to interfret, interfret Shield, and make Hydra into Shield at once, and or like Center, was a Center something from Iron Man 2 was a Hydra engine, and then you saw
Hmm.
him in the Winter Soldier. Like they do a really good job of paying out things here, and in Iron Man, this Iron Man 3, they really did a good job of paying out everything from the first two films in this movie. Like I like how they throw the line again, the prodigal son, when Mark 42 comes back to Tony in that finale. Like that was a great way to bring back that prodigal son phrase.
Hmm.
Um, but then what was it? The iron armor, like the iron suits, like you see throughout the movies. You see it, display and see the progression of the technology of Iron Man,
Hmm.
uh, which is great. And then especially when we get to Mark 42, um, I actually like Mark 42. It's a great um advance to the Iron Man suit. I don't know about the color scheme. I like the color scheme, but it it was kind of weird how they flipped the gold and over the red. But it started to I started to like it. I don't know what's your fan the Mark 42, but I thought it
Yeah.
was a good addition.
Yeah, it grew on me. I also had the same thought about the red and the gold swooshing, but it grew on me.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. And speaking of Iron Legions, like I don't know you were paying attention to the news, but like everyone thought we had the Hulkbuster, because Igor looked like a Hulkbuster kind of suit. Uh,
Hmm.
it's kind of funny now that what was it, like 3 years, like 2 years after Iron Man 3, we're gonna get the actual Hulkbuster and in Age of Ultron. Um, so it's very funny to see that. I was very happy to see the Iron Man armor. I didn't know that they actually brought this into the movie. The silver Sentinel armor that he wore in the comics, the silver and red suit. And that's the suit he wears when um that's the first suit he wears when he flies off in the rig in that finale, to get Pepper. So that was kind of cool, neat, because it parallels to what Tony was doing in the comics, because he was going down during the 80s with his alcoholism and all that, and like how Stain was taking over his company. Here it's diverse to that, but it's similar themes of him, like he was down his luck in this movie and Iron Man 3 in a more emotional and psychological way.
Mhm.
And so it's refreshing to see him wearing that suit first, because he's now getting out of that like rut and depression slash anxiety attacks he was dealing with the beginning of the film. So I really thought they were that suit bad. But yeah. Okay. So anything else we have? Oh, what else we have to mention? In Iron Man 3. Um. Uh. The music. I don't know what's your opinion on the music. I really. I mean, it's crazy that these three films had different music, but I gotta say the Iron Man 3 soundtrack is really great. I love the fanfare towards the end of the movie with the
Mhm.
credits, like being the 80s TV show.
Mhm.
It's one of my favorite Marvel Studios end credits. It brings like so joy to me. I just love it. It's composed by Brian Taylor, who did a couple of the Fast and Furious films. I think this is a great score. Uh,
Yeah, I love the Iron Man 3 theme.
yeah. And it was so great to hear it again in Age of Ultron, when
Mhm.
he was suiting up for the Hulkbuster. But yeah. Okay, what else? I just want to bring up here. Um, oh, we have a quick cameo for Yitzen. So yeah, Yitzen is in this movie in the beginning. Meaning that surgeon that's gonna remove the shrapnel. That's another thing. So
Mhm.
what's the opinion on the shrapnel? That was another thing. I was like, so I mean, first off, him fixing Pepper. So, like, a couple nitpicks here or there. First off, how did Tony fix Pepper? I never liked that we got it off screen.
Yeah,
I I
it's
don't
a
know.
little hand wavy, but
Yeah. Um. I I was listening to commentary, and I know Shane Black. There was just a lot of rewrites they had to do, and
Mhm.
struck down a lot of material. To just meet the hour length. So I get it, but I just feel like this was just like, I don't know. I don't like the quick throwaway line that he could fix it. Um, the Strapnel thing, it's been so many years since this movie came out. I was like, I I like it gets rid of the urgent for Tony. It turns to arc reactor, but then at the same time, it's like what like I don't know. I still feel mixed that they did it, but then I don't know. Well, I don't know. Like it really still bugs me that they did it. Still,
Okay.
I don't know. What do you think? Like, did you like that they took away this like most important thing in Iron Man lore for Iron Man 3?
I don't have like strong feelings about it. I think
Mm-hmm.
the arc reactor in his chest like had served its purpose narratively, and then they had this thing that could heal that damage if he used it.
Mm-hmm.
So like it made sense that he
Yeah.
would get that done.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. It did feel kind of like tacked on at the end.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. I mean it does fit for him to like let go this like stress to have this thing that was gonna kill him maybe one
Hmm.
day.
Hmm.
So I like the idea was there in the story we have. So like I didn't mind that at all. And I like the good thing about these movies, they do a good job of reminders and all that. Like the necklace that Pepper has the shrapnel
Hmm.
in the jewelry of the necklace that she has, if you see her wearing that. So that's kind of cool. And every time we see Tony shirtless, sometimes you can see like the stitches of where the arc reactor is. Sometimes, like I think Endgame, you see it in full detail. when he's arguing with Captain America. Uh,
Hmm.
what was happening, and you see the full stitches or like the heel scar of the shrapnel that hit him back in Iron Man. So
Hmm.
yeah. So and last other thing, I think this would be a good time to wrap things up. The post credit scene. We got a post credit scene. I thought it was funny. That the whole movie he was talking to Bruce Banner, which I like. And I love how he say he dozed off while he was talking to Switzerland part. So yeah, I really love Mark Ruffalo. I thought the scene was so funny. Yeah, it was funny. I don't know what you think about that scene, but it was funny.
Yeah, it's fine.
Hmm. Yeah. So I'm just checking answering notes here. I mean the vice president. This is going to be the last appearance of Joan Rivers, the fashion police person. The She has a cameo in the beginning. Uh,
Hmm.
this is like her last like appearance before her death in 2014. This is the final like film a screen appearance for Michael Ferrer, the vice president. Who is like the cousin of George Clooney. He's the yuppie from RoboCop who created RoboCop in the film.
Hmm.
So he sadly passed away in 2017. So and then other thing is like the extremist storyline. It was really great to see the extremist storyline to be adapted, and I was very happy how they adapted here into the story. So, but yeah. Oh, President Ellis. That's another one. His name is a reference to the comic writer for the extremists, Warren
Hmm.
Ellis.
Yep.
So yeah, and of course, he's in Agents of Shield. If you've seen the show, he's in season 3. In that season. Okay, I think that's all I think we had to say. And then there's like a brief mention of Shield when Tony does the hologram investigation. So, but yeah, but yeah. Anything else, Will? Do you have any thoughts? Anything you want to get out of your mind about Iron Man 3?
No, I think we've covered everything.
All right. Well, oh man, I can't believe it. 10 years since this movie released.
Oh, that makes me feel so old.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, at least we're lucky. I think. Yeah, we're almost done with phase 2. Like we're done with phase 1. So
Hmm.
like we only have Guardians and Age of Ultron, which is good. Thank goodness we did Thor: The Dark World. I'm actually kind of happy.
Yeah, you don't have to watch that one again.
Yeah, no, no. When just talking this movie, I just remember, yeah, Thor: Dark World came after this movie.
Yep.
So weird. Like, oh my god. Oh god, uh, thank goodness we did that in our first
Hmm.
year. But yeah, I'm kind of sad. We just completed the Iron Man trilogy. Well,
Yeah, we did.
yeah. So, oh my god, I'm excited to talk more Marvel films. This year is very big. I mean, we got X2's 20th anniversary, which is crazy.
Hmm.
And the Wolverine has his 10th anniversary this year. So that is going to be
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, but thank you, Will, for coming today. I always happy to talk to you. Thank you so much being here. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, and thank you everyone for listening to the Marvel Plus talk. I hope you guys enjoyed this latest podcast. Me and Will be back soon. For now, just watch out for this podcast. We'll be back later.